The sun hung low over Novaterra, casting a warm golden light across the vibrant colony that I had come to call home. Laughter and music filled the air, an infectious blend of joy and freedom that seemed to dance along with the colorful banners fluttering in the gentle breeze. Today we celebrated our independence, a day that marked the beginning of our new lives away from the tyranny of Earth. I stood at the center of the festival, taking it all in, feeling a swell of pride for what we had built. "Captain Emiliano," a voice called out, pulling me from my reverie. I turned to find Rosa, my childhood friend, pushing through the crowd, her eyes sparkling with excitement. She was a whirlwind of energy, her dark hair bouncing as she approached, clutching a small device in her hands. "You have to see this." "What have you invented now?" I asked, a smile spreading on my face. Rosa was always tinkering, always dreaming up something that could change our lives for the better. She held up the device, a sleek metallic contraption with blinking lights and intricate circuits. "This. It harnesses the planet's energy in a way we've never been able to before. Just imagine, Emiliano. We could power the entire colony with it." I leaned closer, inspecting her creation. "You're incredible, Rosa. This could elevate us even further. But, do you think it's ready?" She waved her hand dismissively. "Of course. I've tested it, well, sort of. I just need a little more data to confirm its efficiency." Her enthusiasm was contagious, but I couldn't shake the weight that settled in my chest. "Just be careful. We may be free here, but the shadows of our past still linger. We can't afford any missteps," I cautioned, my voice low. Rosa's expression softened, and she placed a reassuring hand on my arm. "I know. But today is about celebrating our freedom and our future. Let's not dwell on the past." As the festival continued, I took a moment to observe the people around us. Families danced together, children played with makeshift toys, and couples shared laughter over shared meals. It was a community thriving against all odds, yet a nagging sense of unease tugged at my mind. I felt the weight of leadership pressing down on me, the reality of our exile ever present. As twilight approached, the atmosphere shifted. The vibrant colors of the festival began to dim, replaced by the deep blues and purples of the night sky. I stood atop a small stage, looking out at my people. Tonight, we celebrate not just our survival but our unity. Together, we have built a home on this distant planet. Together, we are strong. My voice rang out, and the crowd erupted in cheers, a wave of hope washing over me. But just as the laughter reached its peak, a sudden chill swept through the air. I glanced upward, my heart racing as a dark shadow loomed over the horizon. The festive lights flickered, and a hush fell over the crowd. My stomach twisted with dread as I recognized the silhouette of ships, alien ships, glistening ominously against the starlit sky. "Emiliano." Rosa's voice broke through my thoughts, her expression shifting from excitement to alarm. "What is that?" I forced myself to maintain my composure, raising my hand to calm the crowd. "Everyone, remain calm. It could be a simple misunderstanding. Let's not panic." But inside, a storm of anxiety raged. I hadn't prepared for this. As the fleet drew closer, I whispered to Rosa, "We need to get everyone to safety. Gather the council. I'll address the crowd and then we'll." Before I could finish, the ships descended, their dark forms blotting out the stars, casting a foreboding shadow over Novaterra. I looked into the eyes of my people, fear mirrored in their gazes. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. "Stay together. We will face whatever this is together." My voice rang with false bravado, but I could feel the panic bubbling beneath the surface. As I glanced back at Rosa, I saw her determination. "Whatever happens, Emiliano, we'll face it as a team," she said, her voice steady and resolute. I nodded, though uncertainty gnawed at my insides. The night was far from over, and I had a sinking feeling that our newfound peace was about to be shattered. The air was thick with tension in the council chamber as the holographic image of General Zorak flickered to life. His towering figure loomed over us, a stark contrast to the warmth we had built in Novaterra. "Humans," he boomed, his voice echoing with a chilling authority, "you are trespassers on Zelthari territory. Surrender now, and I may spare your existence. Resist, and you will face annihilation." I clenched my fists, feeling the weight of my people's gaze upon me. Murmurs of fear filled the room, and I could sense my heart racing in response. "What will we do?" one of the council members, an elder named Mara whispered. Her voice trembled, and I could see the fear etched on her face. We cannot fight them, Emiliano. It's... No. I interrupted, my voice firmer than I felt. We cannot let them dictate our fate. We've built this colony from the ashes of our past. We will not cower in the shadows. But what if he's right? Countered another council member, a young man named Yarok. We are outnumbered and outgunned. Maybe we should consider his terms. At that moment, I felt the weight of leadership like never before. Peace at what cost, Yarok? Our freedom? Our dignity? I glanced around the room, searching for allies among the council. We must prepare to defend ourselves. We owe it to everyone who sacrificed so much to find a new home here. Rosa, who had been silent until then, stepped forward. Emiliano is right. We can't surrender. We have the technology to protect ourselves, and we can use it against them. Her eyes shone with determination, igniting a spark of hope in the room. Are you suggesting we develop weapons? Jarek's tone was laced with disbelief. We're not soldiers. We can be. Mateo, our tech whiz, chimed in. I've been working on some prototypes. If we combine our resources, we might stand a chance. I nodded, feeling a surge of purpose. Then it's settled. We'll regroup in the lab. We need to act quickly. As we moved to leave the chamber, I caught Rosa's eye, and she offered a reassuring smile. I felt a twinge of gratitude. Her spirit was a balm amid the chaos. In the underground lab, the atmosphere was electric. The walls were lined with makeshift workstations cluttered with tools and components. I turned to the group gathered around me. All right, everyone, we need to brainstorm our defenses. Mateo, what do you have in mind? He adjusted his glasses, his fingers dancing over a tablet. I've been analyzing our energy output. If we can amplify our shields using Rosa's device, we could create a barrier strong enough to withstand their initial attack.
Rosa nodded enthusiastically.
We can also modify some of the mining equipment to create projectiles. We've got the materials, we just need to reconfigure them. The room buzzed with ideas as each member of our group contributed. But as the brainstorming intensified, so did the friction. This is reckless. Yarok shouted, slamming his fist on the table. We're not prepared for this kind of confrontation. We'll just make ourselves targets. Better a target than a victim, Mateo shot back, his voice rising. We can't just sit back and wait for them to come for us. We have to take the fight to them. Fighting won't solve anything. Yarok retorted, his face flushed. You think we can just throw together some makeshift weapons and hope for the best? Enough. I interjected, feeling the strain of the moment. We're all scared. But we need to focus on what we can do instead of what we can't. We're in this together, and we need to trust each other if we're going to survive. Silence fell over the group as they processed my words. I could see the tension easing, the fight leaving their expressions. Let's take a break, I suggested. We'll reconvene in an hour. I want everyone to think about our strengths and how we can utilize them. As the members dispersed, I found Rosa lingering behind. You handled that well, she said softly. It's hard to keep everyone united when fear is so palpable. It's what I have to do, I replied, running a hand through my hair. But sometimes I wish I didn't have to carry this burden alone. You're not alone, she reassured me, her hand resting on my arm. We're all in this together. We'll find a way to fight back. Just then, a commotion erupted outside the lab. I exchanged a worried glance with Rosa before we rushed to see what was happening. As we stepped outside, the sight that met us was chilling, a figure cloaked in shadows, darting through the colony, eyes wild with fear. Stop! I shouted, running after the figure, adrenaline surging through my veins. Who are you? But before I could catch up, the figure vanished into the night, leaving only the echo of my voice in the air. I turned back to Rosa, my heart pounding. We need to find out who that was. It could be a spy for the Zelthari. Or worse, Rosa whispered, her face pale. It could be one of us. The air was thick with tension as the Zelthari launched their first attack. I stood at the command center, the holographic display flickering before me, showing the trajectory of incoming explosions that lit up the sky with a terrifying glow. The energy plant, our lifeblood, was their primary target, and I could already hear the distant sounds of chaos echoing through Novaterra.
Emiliano.
Rosa's voice broke through the din as she rushed into the room, her hair disheveled and her face flushed. We need to amplify the energy shields. If we don't, they'll breach the plant within minutes. I know. I replied, my heart racing. Can you adapt your device? I've already made some modifications, she said, her eyes sparkling with determination. But I need time. We can't hold them off forever. Time is a luxury we don't have. I turned to the group of colonists gathered around the display, their faces pale with fear. We need to buy Rosa that time. Matteo, gather anyone who can fight. We're going to create a diversion. On it. Matteo, always eager, sprinted out of the command center, rallying the others. I could see the fear in their eyes, but also a flicker of resolve. We were exiles, yes, but we were also survivors. As I made my way to the energy plant, I could see the Zelthri ships overhead, their sleek forms silhouetted against the flames. The first explosions rocked the ground beneath my feet, sending a wave of heat rushing past me. I stumbled but quickly regained my footing. Stay together. I shouted to the group that had followed me. We need to protect the plant at all costs. The sounds of battle enveloped us, blasts of energy, the cries of wounded colonists, and the guttural war cries of the Zelthri. We arrived at the energy plant just as the first wave of invaders began to breach the perimeter. I grabbed a makeshift weapon, a metal pipe, and readied myself for the confrontation ahead. Emiliano. Rosa's voice pierced through the chaos as she emerged from the building, her device clutched tightly in her hands. I've got it. The shields are charging, but they need time to power up. Then we'll buy you that time. I shouted back, and with a rallying cry, we surged forward to meet the Zelthri. The first alien I encountered was a hulking figure, its eyes glowing with malice. I swung the pipe with all my strength, connecting with a sickening crunch. It reeled back, howling in pain, and I quickly moved on to the next. Behind me, I could hear Matteo yelling orders, directing the others to form a line of defense. Keep pushing them back, he shouted, his voice steady even amid the chaos. We can't let them reach the plant. I fought with everything I had, adrenaline coursing through my veins, but I could see the tide turning. For every Zelthri we took down, more seemed to flood in. The colonists were brave, but they were outnumbered. I glanced back toward Rosa, who was furiously typing commands into her device. Hurry! I called out, my voice barely cutting through the noise. I'm almost there, she yelled, her face set with fierce concentration. Just a few more seconds. As if in response to her urgency, a massive explosion rocked the ground, knocking me off my feet. I landed hard, the breath knocked from my lungs. I scrambled to my feet, disoriented, and saw several colonists being overwhelmed.
Rosa.
I yelled, panic seeping into my voice. Now! She screamed back, and I saw a brilliant flash as her device activated. The energy shields flared to life, a shimmering barrier rising around the plant. The Zelthri halted, momentarily stunned by the sudden protection, but I knew it wouldn't hold for long. We needed to regroup. Fall back. I shouted, rallying the remaining colonists. We need to protect the perimeter while the shields recharge. As we retreated to a safer distance, I caught a glimpse of the devastation we had already suffered. The ground was littered with debris, and I could see the bodies of fallen colonists mingling with the remains of the Zelthri. My heart sank. Rosa joined me, her breath coming in ragged gasps. We did it, Emiliano. The shields are holding, but they won't last forever. We need to come up with a plan, quickly. I nodded, my mind racing. Matteo found a weakness in their technology during our earlier encounters. We can exploit that, use it to our advantage. But first, we need to regroup and tend to our wounded. Agreed, she said, the fire in her eyes unwavering. We'll fight back, Emiliano. We have to. In that moment, amid the chaos and destruction, I felt a flicker of hope igniting within me. We may have suffered losses today, but we were not defeated. We still had each other, and together, we would find a way to protect our home. The sun hung low in the sky, casting elongated shadows across the makeshift meeting ground where we prepared to discuss our next steps. I stood at the edge, my heart racing as I anticipated the arrival of Naira and her faction of Zelthri. Each colonist around me wore a mask of uncertainty. We were all too aware of the fragile line separating friend from foe. My mind raced back to the chaos of the previous battle, the sounds of blasters, and the cries of those we lost. I knew we needed allies, but trusting the Zelthari felt like playing with fire. As Naira stepped into view, her presence commanded attention. Tall and formidable, adorned in armor that glimmered with the hues of her bloodline, she was the embodiment of the warrior spirit of her people. I took a deep breath and stepped forward to greet her. "Welcome, Naira. Thank you for coming." She nodded, her piercing gaze assessing our ranks. "Captain Emiliano. I bring my warriors, but I cannot guarantee their loyalty. Zorak's grip on my people runs deep." Her words sent a shiver down my spine. "We understand the risks. But if your faction is willing to fight against Zorak, we need to find common ground." Naira's expression softened slightly. "You speak of trust. Yet, how can I trust you, human? Your kind has a history of betrayal." I glimpsed the tension in the air, palpable as the humidity of Nova Terra. "And we have a history of oppression. We fled to this planet to escape tyranny, just as you oppose Zorak. Let's focus on our mutual enemy." She studied me, her eyes narrowing. "Very well. But know this, I will not hesitate to withdraw my warriors if I sense treachery." "Neither will we," I replied firmly, sensing the weight of our precarious alliance. "What do you propose?" Naira stepped closer, her voice lowering to a conspiratorial whisper. "Zorak has a weapon, one that could obliterate your colony. We need to strike before he uses it. I know his patterns, his weaknesses. Together, we can turn the tide." As she laid out her plan, I felt a flicker of hope ignite within me. It was audacious and fraught with peril, but it was our best chance. "We'll need to coordinate our forces. I'll gather our tech specialists, and we can integrate your knowledge of Zorak's defenses." "Rosa," I called, spotting her among the group. She approached, her usual confidence tempered by the looming threat. "We'll need your expertise in energy manipulation." "I'm ready, Emiliano," she replied, her eyes brightening with determination. "If we can amplify our shields and coordinate with Naira's warriors, we might just stand a chance." After hours of strategizing, we prepared for the upcoming battle. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of crimson and violet. I looked around at the faces of my people, a mix of fear and fierce resolve mirrored in their expressions. I felt the weight of their hopes resting on my shoulders. Just as we were about to finalize our plans, an urgent message crackled through our communicator. "Captain Emiliano. We've detected movement near the southern perimeter." Mateo's voice was laced with urgency. "Zelthari?" I asked, heart pounding. "No, it's too early for Zorak's forces. It looks like a scouting party, but they're not following typical patterns." Naira's eyes narrowed. "It could be Zorak testing our defenses. We must intercept them before they report back." With a swift nod, I turned to my team. "Let's move. We'll take them by surprise." The tension electrified the air as we readied ourselves. We split into groups, Naira leading her warriors alongside my colonists. As we advanced through the dense foliage, every crack of a twig set my heart racing. Suddenly, we spotted the enemy, a small group of Zelthari soldiers moving with caution, their weapons drawn. "On my signal," I whispered to Naira, my voice barely audible over the rustling leaves. She nodded, her hand resting on her weapon. "Together." With a burst of adrenaline, I shouted, "Now!" We launched ourselves from the underbrush, a wave of humanity and Zelthari crashing upon the unsuspecting soldiers. Blaster fire erupted, and the air filled with the acrid scent of ionized energy. I fought alongside Naira, her strength and skill evident as she took down one enemy after another. Just as we gained the upper hand, a deafening sound pierced the air. I turned to see a massive shadow looming overhead. My heart sank as I recognized the silhouette of Zorak's flagship descending from the clouds. "We need to retreat." I yelled, but it was too late. Zorak's forces were already swarming around us, and in the chaos, I lost sight of Naira.
Rosa.
Mateo.
I shouted, desperately searching for my friends in the fray. Then came the blinding flash of energy, a weapon like none I had ever seen, tearing through the battlefield. I staggered back, my heart racing as the realization hit me. Our alliance, our fight against Zorak, was spiraling into chaos. I had no idea what lay ahead, but one truth remained: we were in this together now, for better or worse. The air was thick with tension as I stood face to face with Naira, the Zelthari warrior whose allegiance had shifted like the winds of Novaterra. The remnants of our recent battle lay strewn around us like a haunting reminder of the chaos that had unfolded. I could still hear the distant echoes of blaster fire and the cries of the wounded. My heart raced as I demanded answers, my voice firm yet laced with uncertainty. What do you mean Alejandro was working with Zorak? How could he betray us like this? Naira's golden eyes flashed with a mix of anger and regret. It was all part of his plan, Emiliano. He wanted to see both our factions destroyed, believing he could emerge from the ashes as a ruler. Zorak promised him power in exchange for information. He knew our weaknesses and exploited them. So we were pawns in his game? I clenched my fists, the weight of betrayal pressing heavily on my chest. The thought that someone I once considered an ally could turn against us was a bitter pill to swallow. What can we do now? Zorak has that weapon, and with Alejandro's treachery, he knows our every move. Naira took a step closer, her expression shifting from anger to determination. We cannot let that weapon be used against us again. We need to infiltrate Zorak's base and disable it, but we can't do it alone. I will help you, but you must trust me. I hesitated, the memories of our alliance's fragility flooding my mind. But the urgency of the situation outweighed my doubts. We don't have time to waste. If you're truly on our side, then let's plan this mission carefully. As we strategized, Rosa entered the dimly lit room, her eyes alight with the spark of innovation. I've been working on a way to bypass their security systems. If we can get close enough, I can disable the weapon remotely. Her confidence was infectious, and I felt a surge of hope. Rosa, this is going to be dangerous, I warned, my protective instincts flaring. We're talking about penetrating the heart of Zorak's fortress. I know the risks, Emiliano, she replied, her gaze unwavering. But we have to do this. I can't stand by while our home is threatened. I'm ready to take that risk. Her determination ignited a fire within me. All right, then. We'll need a small team. We'll move at night, using the cover of darkness to our advantage. Naira, you'll lead the way since you're familiar with their defenses. Consider it done, she nodded, a fierce glint in her eyes. The night cloaked us as we prepared to embark on our perilous mission. My heart pounded in rhythm with the tension that hung in the air. We moved through the shadows, each step a reminder of what was at stake. As we neared Zorak's base, the towering structure loomed ahead, an ominous fortress filled with the enemy. Stay sharp, Naira whispered, her voice barely a breath above the wind. The guards will be on high alert after the last attack. We slipped through the narrow crevices of rock, using the terrain to our advantage. My pulse quickened with anticipation, and I found myself glancing at Rosa, her face set with determination. I had never admired her more than in this moment. As we reached the entrance, a sudden alarm blared, shattering the stillness of the night. They know we're here. I shouted, adrenaline coursing through my veins. Move. The chaos erupted instantly. We sprinted into the base, blaster fire lighting up the darkness like shooting stars. I could hear Naira barking orders, her Zelthari instincts kicking in as she led us deeper into the heart of the fortress. Rosa, where's the control room? I yelled over the cacophony. Just ahead, she replied, her voice steady even amid the chaos. I can disable the weapon from there, but I need cover. We burst through the door, and I instinctively took position, aiming my blaster at the approaching guards. Naira fought valiantly beside me, her combat skills evident as she dispatched enemies with precision. Now, Rosa. Do it. I urged, my heart racing as she hurried to the control panel, her fingers flying over the interface. Just as I thought we might succeed, Zorak appeared, flanked by his elite guards. My heart sank as he raised a hand, signaling for them to stop. You are fools to think you can disrupt my plans, he sneered, his voice dripping with contempt. Get away from her. I shouted, stepping forward, but before I could react, Zorak's guards moved in, surrounding us. Emiliano. Rosa screamed as I felt a sharp pain in my side. The world spun as darkness threatened to engulf me. My last thought before everything went black was of Rosa, of the choices we had made, the sacrifices we were willing to endure, and the realization that our fight was far from over. The cold metal walls of Zorak's prison cell felt unforgiving against my back as I sat, my mind racing through the chaos of the last battle. The darkness seemed to swallow me whole, and every sound echoed like a distant memory of laughter and hope. I had failed my people, I had failed Rosa. The thought of her face, filled with determination and concern, haunted me. My heart ached not just from the physical pain of my captivity, but for the uncertainty that lay ahead. Suddenly, the heavy door creaked open, and a figure stepped inside. It was Zorak, towering over me with his formidable presence. "You humans are resilient," he said, his voice a low rumble. "But your spirit will be broken, just like your defenses." I glared up at him, the anger boiling inside. "You think imprisoning me will stop my people? They will fight back, and they will win." Zorak chuckled, a sound devoid of warmth. "Your people? They are but pawns in a greater game. The Omnuri are coming, and when they do, your precious Novatera will be stripped of all it holds." Those words struck me like a lightning bolt. "What do you mean?" I demanded, my breath hitching in my throat. "The Omnuri are not just conquerors, they are harvesters. They seek the resources of this planet for their own gain," he explained, his eyes narrowing. "We were not sent to conquer you, but to assess your potential as allies against this greater threat. But your kind seems so intent on fighting the wrong enemy." For a moment, I was lost in the gravity of his revelation. The Zelthari were not the true threat? I needed to warn Rosa, to tell her everything. "If what you say is true, then we need to work together," I said, my voice gaining strength. "We have to warn my people." Zorak studied me, his expression unreadable. "Perhaps," he said slowly. "But can you convince your people of that? They see me as the enemy. They see us all as monsters." As Zorak turned to leave, a plan began to form in my mind. I needed to escape, to reach Rosa and Matteo before it was too late. "You may think we're weak, but we have something you don't, hope. Hope can unite us against the Omnuri," I called after him. Back in the colony, Rosa and Matteo were fighting their own battle. They had gathered the remaining colonists and Naira's forces, strategizing in the underground lab that had become our second home. The flickering lights cast shadows on their determined faces as they huddled over maps and devices, their voices a mix of urgency and fear. "Emiliano is still out there, and we need to get him back," Rosa insisted, her eyes blazing with resolve. "We can't let Zorak distract us from the real danger." Matteo nodded, his fingers tapping nervously on the table. "What if we divide our forces? A distraction to draw Zorak's attention while a smaller team goes in for Emiliano." Rosa looked around at their gathered allies. "We need to work quickly. If Zorak's right about the Omnuri, we have no time to waste." As they crafted their plan, I felt a surge of hope. Rosa was strong, and with Matteo's ingenuity, they could pull this off. I had to believe that they would come for me. The tension grew as night fell over Zorak's base. I could hear the distant sounds of preparation. They were getting ready for the Omnuri, and so were we. I had to escape before it was too late. Finally, I saw my chance when Zorak's guards changed shifts. I pushed myself against the wall, my heart racing. With a swift movement, I overpowered the guard who had been stationed outside my cell and stole his weapon. I made my way through the dimly lit corridors, adrenaline pumping through my veins. Meanwhile, outside the base, Rosa and Matteo executed their plan. Explosions erupted, causing chaos among Zorak's ranks. I could hear the distant sounds of battle, and it fueled my determination. I had to find Rosa. As I navigated the maze of the compound, I spotted a familiar figure. It was Naira, her fierce expression betraying no fear. "Emiliano, you made it!" she exclaimed, relief flooding her voice. "We need to regroup with the others. The Omnuri are nearing." With a nod, we raced through the halls, the sound of battle growing louder. Just as we reached the exit, the sky lit up with an otherworldly glow. The Omnuri ships descended, their terrifying silhouettes blocking out the stars. "Together," I whispered, remembering Zorak's words about the true enemy. If we were to survive, we would need to unite, not just as humans and Zelthari, but as allies against a greater threat. As we burst into the open, I spotted Rosa and Matteo leading the remaining colonists. "This way!" Rosa shouted, her voice cutting through the chaos. Together, we charged into the fray, ready to confront the true enemy and forge an unexpected alliance that might just save our world.